welcome back to KubeCon 2026 in Amsterdam, in our home area, if you will. I'm still with Stuart Miniman. Stu, how are you?
I'm still doing great, thank you.
Still doing great. So in the previous episode, we talked about everything Red Hat, open source, your place in the CNCF. But you know, a lot has happened in the last time we had a conversation about everything new in OpenShift, and that was one of the topics I wanted to talk to you about as well, since you know you're in the middle of everything OpenShift.
Sure.
So let's dive into what's new in OpenShift.
Yeah. Okay, so OpenShift, you know, it's interesting. Not that long ago we celebrated 10 years of Kubernetes. The funny thing is, OpenShift's been around for more than 12 years.
Wow.
So we go and be like, wait, hold on, I thought it was like a Kubernetes-based platform. And it was like, well, OpenShift was actually developed to help with like application modernization. Conversation we've been having for probably 20 plus years. I look at the broader industry. Wall Street was talking about like, hey, do we get people off of COBOL? And it was like, wow, I've never heard that in the last 40 years. Things are always changing. We know. One of the things that actually brought me to Red Hat originally was, if you think about open source and technology in general, it's kind of these waves of chaos. Red Hat was built to help, work through that. If you think about there's like 1 million lines of Linux that change every month, and who can keep up with that? It's like, well, Red Hat's done a really good job with that. Look at the CNCF, 230 projects,
It's insane.
How many millions of contributors and everything? We're right in the thick of it, and we're, surfing those waves and helping to make them, as we talking about open source, make it easier to consume, make it trusted and secure, those kind of things. So the application platform to help you, build, deploy, and manage your environment, that's what we did with OpenShift. OpenShift started with some earlier technologies, Linux as a foundation for security, but when Docker came along and Kubernetes came along, those helped build the core of what we did, and then lots of these other projects that came along helped build to it. So today, we've got thousands of customers in every industry and every geography in the world, whether it's the data center, the edge, or the cloud, we can live there. And traditional workloads, modern workloads, AI workloads, and AI is not new for us. We've been doing ML and predictive workloads for lots of years, and your generative AI agentic workloads, absolutely. What's interesting when you look at this conference, what Kubernetes looked like in the early days is kind of stateless, workloads that were a bit ephemeral and, changed quite a bit compared to today with agentic workloads. Things have changed a lot.
Yeah.
So we are changing along with it. We are working in the projects to make sure that this platform can, not just the last 10 years, but the next 10 or 20 years of activity. We sure believe, and I know the main stage of CNCF agrees with us, that we've got the foundational layer for who knows what AI is going to bring to us for the next couple of years.
So let's dive into a couple of those, those new parts of OpenShift.
Sure.
Let's go through your top 3.
Okay. So OpenShift itself, I talked about one of them already, which is really from an AI standpoint. We purchased a company, NeuroMagic, a year ago, which is vLLM, which helps how we optimize our GPU usage. But really that was kind of singular. LLMD superglues that to Kubernetes. So how do we take all of the wonderful AI and agentic things and connect it to what we do in the cloud native ecosystem? So, we talk about things like, how do I take care of the scheduler and managing and scaling up and down and the like. Kubernetes knows how to do this. We just need to connect that and understand GPUs and the like in there. So that's number one. Number two,
I think that's a great example of some of those innovations, because vLLM by itself it's a great inference server, but it was never built for horizontal scale. Yeah. So, and this is where where LLMD comes into play, right?
So much. Yeah. I mean, I know you were at GTC.
Yeah.
We were really happy to have NVIDIA as one of the co-launching partners of that program last year, along with Google and many others. So, super important. Second thing I'd say is 230 projects. There's a lot going on here. Nobody has ever said that this environment is easy. The canonical example is Kelsey Hightower talking about building Kubernetes the hard way. At Red Hat, we sure have been working for the last decade to make it a lot easier. So the management layer of how we do things. We have our management tool, which, by the way, you would say, oh, okay, Red Hat, you sell us a product. Oh, there's an open source project. The OCM is the open source upstream version of that. So you can use it as open source, or we do have the productized version of that. So simplifying the management, the operational model. Red Hat very much is a YAML company. If you're more comfortable in GUIs, or heck, these days we even have the AI virtual assistants to be able to help me with this. Yeah, of course, we're doing all of those things so that I don't necessarily have to be. Not everybody needs to be a Kubernetes expert to do this. I love the certifications that the CNSF's putting in there, and we have lots of people that have been learning OpenShift and even change jobs and help bring those skills otherwhere. So if you go look on job postings, there's usually general Kubernetes, and then right behind that is like OpenShift specific, because we are so widely adopted through enterprises around the globe. That simplification of the environment, making sure we can manage everything, is, I'd say, number 2 on that list.
Yeah, and that's another one which I really love. So we're trying to coin the phrase YOLO ops. So there's kind of a combination of DevOps, ClickOps, and YOLO ops, right? So for the hardcore YAML focused engineers, that's kind of the ground. That's the structure. That's the base where everyone can deploy applications on top of OpenShift. But next to that, for the ClickOps type of folks that came from the Windows side of things. The way you can deploy anything on OpenShift can be done through the UIs, the integration with, like we mentioned in the previous episode, with Argo CD. And at the end, like building a virtual assistant into that, in which you can just ask, like, I want to deploy this application. Can you help? The YOLO ops side of things. You basically address any type of engineer, right? Yeah,
and actually you bring up, I got 2 more things. So the next one I would say is, before Gen AI, the big buzz at this show was platform engineering.
Yeah.
And really it's something that still is a strong presence at this show. Backstage Con was going on as a Day Zero event. We participated in that. The whole DevOps movement was excellent, but it didn't necessarily translate into everything we wanted. Getting like a product owner that can work on helping DevOps or DevSecOps along the way is something that's really good. And so how do we really have a platform that I can configure for my environment, get the tools that we need, put the golden path in place, has been something that we've been seeing large growth on, and has been pretty exciting for us to see. So that's been a real thing. It's something that can sit on OpenShift, even though some of our customers that are using our offering, which is Red Hat Developer Hub, aren't even OpenShift customers. So again, there's certain things that you're like, oh, is that a container Kubernetes thing? It's like, just like Service Mesh can do much more than containers. Backstage doesn't necessarily have to be with OpenShift, but it obviously integrates well with it. We help bring plugins for all those developer tools and help build that ecosystem from everybody like JFrog to GitOps and the like that can plug into it. So platform engineering has been a super hot topic and really helps. If I think about 5 years ago, how long it took you to get through your maturity, versus if you dive into this, we can really shrink and ramp that adoption that you have.
Which is great for ROI, especially those CIOs who are going to invest in a modern apps platform and heard about that Kubernetes thing. I think this is one of the best ways to do it.
All right. And if I have one last thing I talk about,
of course.
It's actually the first thing that I'm going to talk to a customer about, because it's security. So got a couple of my folks at the RSA conference this week. If you look, when I look in the CNCF, the software supply chain has been big. There was somebody at Red Hat that helped start the SigStore project, and security is really important. The most recent thing from an OpenShift standpoint is ZTWIM, which is the Zero Trust Identity Management. And so really helping with the overall security of the platform. And zero trust has been one of those things. You want to get the least amount of security to the fewest people for the least amount of time. So something we've definitely been involved and embraced.
So, we covered your favorite topics,
Yeah.
and all that's new kind of in OpenShift. Looking back at the conference,
Yeah.
and kind of my final question before I let you go. We've been here in Amsterdam for the last couple of days. What is your general take on KubeCon 2026?
Yeah, it's been great. My favorite thing is to just talk to some of the practitioners, hear where they are. What are they really excited about? What are they, early in? You get the, hot and cold on AI for some of these people. Sovereignty, of course, being over here in Europe is a hot topic and one that I've been having a lot of conversations on. And from an OpenShift standpoint, in the keynote this morning, they talked about if you adopt open source code and deploy it to your sovereign environment, that should really be the way to think. That aligns very well with what we do at Red Hat and how we think about it. It's been a phenomenal show. Record-breaking attendance is always 13.5 in here, a lot more than we had 3 years ago when I was last here for this show, and just the momentum keeps growing, so it's really good. You always look for are there going to be, a brick wall we're going to hit, or do we see, some real growth potential? And it's really positive energy coming out of a show like this. So it's been a blast.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being a guest on the show. Safe travels back home.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. If you have questions about everything Red Hat, make sure to go to www.itq.eu and look for our Cloud Native section where you can find more about Red Hat. For now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.